Hey everybody, welcome to Growing with Fishes podcast, episode 149. This week we have Vision Creator with us. Thanks a lot for joining us. The Growing with Fishes podcast, episode 149. It was Roger this time, I swear. We also have Mr. Green Jeans.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Glad to be here.
And we got Roger from ILGM.
Hey everybody, I'm muting and unmuting. I was trying to get the chat on YouTube up, so I apologize. We always have to have an echo from somebody. So yeah, welcome to Vision. We got him at the last minute tonight. He's a really fun guy. So I hope you guys enjoy the show tonight.
Yeah, if I don't screw it up, someone else is guaranteed to. So. Thanks a lot for joining us, Vision. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do? I know you do a lot of awesome breeding projects and work with a lot of African and Afghan strains. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started breeding.
Okay, so my first plant, 1988. I was living in London and I went over to Amsterdam, and because I've been smoking really bad, the equivalent of Mexican pressed brickweed with tons of seeds. We never knew where it came from. Some of them were brilliant, some of them were horrific. But I decided that, so I went and bought the book. It was like, what is it, Mel Franks or whatever, Grow Your Own Weed. So I went over to Amsterdam and I bought Big Bud Cross Skunk #1 from Super Sativa Seed Club. And I didn't know what I was doing. I got 10 seeds, one stayed alive, and I put it in a 5-gallon bucket in my backyard and grew out 1/4 pound of probably the best weed I'd smoked ever in the UK. And from that moment on time, I was done, and since then, that was like 31 years ago, I've been growing and breeding. And then I came to Canada specifically to grow weed, because you can't really grow weed in the UK. They'll put you in prison in a very nasty place, and I didn't really want to go there. And so I came out here, and then I came to Vancouver. And then the first 2 weeks I was here, I think I saw 20 different grow shows in the first 2 weeks. And everybody's got something in their basement, and they're all growing like happily away. And I died and went to heaven. This is my place. So after that, I just got into it, as we all do. And I love, and I wanted to breed because I wanted to create new things. Once I realized that Sensi had just gone, well, they'd crossed Big Bud Skunk #1 and they'd created something new. I wanted to create stuff, but I've also traveled all my life, and I've been to around the world probably over 7 times, been to the continent, smoked weed in India, smoked weed in Nepal, smoked weed in Thailand, smoked weed absolutely everywhere. And always saved the seeds and brought them back, and then basically just started playing around. And essentially that's the only story, and everything that comes out of that is just all the stuff that comes out of that. And then you learn, and then the interweb took over, and I got onto the forums. I got to meet great people like Mr. Green Jeans, speak to people who had the fervor and the love and the adoration like I had for growing really nice stuff. And then I was lost in forum land for the 3 or 4 years that we had it before they shut it all down, and got to interact with other landrace breeders, because I'm a landrace breeder. I don't do polyhybrid hell. That's the last thing I do. I don't mix stuff up. I do like a straight Afghani with a straight Thai, or a straight African with a straight something else. I don't go into anything else other than that. And it's a hard occupation to have, because a lot of them don't like each other, but occasionally you find ones that really work, and then every once in a while you find something amazing. Because like every human being, you can't force yourself to go out with the girl next door. Even though she looks beautiful, she may not kick your thing, so to speak. And it's the same thing with plants. So, but over the years, once you try enough things with other things, you learn that a sativa needs to go into an indica, not the other way around. Indicas don't breed well from a male indica perspective into a female sativa, but a male sativa going into a female indica actually works like probably the best treats that you can possibly ever get. And after that, the world was my oyster, and I just traveled around looking and finding for new stuff, trying to make things work together. I found some amazing girls in my time, which, we try and keep them, but I've been busted 3 times by the RCMP, who took a lot of my nice, really quality stuff away over the years, as they do. But these are the back in the days when we were all illegal and things were nasty. But we still kept on going, and we kept on going, and now we arrive at this moment in time where it's legal in Canada, which is great. It's legal down the whole West Coast and like over North America, and eventually it'll be legal everywhere. You know, and I'm ready and waiting for that. But I don't sell seeds. If you see my IG account, it says Seed Collective. It doesn't say seed seller. It means that I hang out with a lot of people who collect seeds, because that's what Seed Collective means. We just hang out with each other so that we can interact with all our land races and try and create new and beautiful things on a constant basis. And that's probably enough from me. I'm going to smoke some more of this pipe. Mr. Ponics, please go.
Yeah, no worries. Mr. Green Jeans, you haven't been with us for a couple of days. What's up with you?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I started a lot more cherry bomb seeds. I got a bunch of little baby. You know, it's funny because like I didn't have any cherry bomb for 5 years, and I got it back from Swami. You know, so my advice to everybody out there: spread your genetics around. You know what I mean? That was
buddy. Yeah, buddy. Yeah. Yes.
If you can, you know, don't hold it tight to your chest, because
No.
you know, because there's always a chance you may get busted or something like that, and then you won't see it again.
Yeah.
So it's very important to spread things around. Yeah, I didn't have cherry bomb for 5 years, and now I have a bunch of plants in my backyard. And the beautiful thing is, Swami put his own stamp on it. You know what I mean? And it's really not actually his. The amazing thing is, he basically must have read every single post I wrote about cherry bomb in detail, and worked on it in, you know, according to the things I had said he had read about, which is incredible. I mean, that guy has got skill. So in other words, he also took cherry bomb in a direction of his own. So he has this sort of indica dominant side of it that I think was more towards his liking. But at the same time, he developed it in the direction that he learned from me, from reading my post. He read all the stuff I wrote about the wine red stems and the cherry smells and the flavors and the things like that. And I had mentioned that I thought that THC, I'd probably increased the potency over the years, maybe a bit too much, to the point where the THC was, because I had cherry bomb, you know, like 13 generations at least. I mean, I didn't count exactly, but I inbred it with no in crosses for around 13 generations, I think, or 14 by the time I started trying to release it. So, you know, that's a long time. And that's another thing, is after you work on something for a really long time, you know what I mean? It's really, you know, what are you going to do with it? You know, you've got to send it out. You've got to give it out and, you know, spread it around. So anyway, it was amazing. You know, you at some point you're going to get to where you want to see what the kind of work that other people will do on it. You know, and for me that was an amazing gift. And also, you know, getting other you know, emails and photographs and things of people starting to connect with me now and showing me the stuff they've done with cherry bomb, and it's incredible. You know, it's just what a feeling to have. You know, to have been able to do something like that. You know, so here's another thing I was going to say, talking about, because you were saying, yeah, female or male sativa into female indica. You know, cherry bomb is it's not pure sativa. It's probably along the way, right before I got a hold of it, when it was still in Hawaii, which is where it comes from. It's originally Maui Wowie. So probably while it was in Hawaii, it was hybridized with an indica. But I was already messing around with quite a few indica dominant kind of things during that time. This is like late 70s. And so I was really intrigued more by cherry bomb's sativa side. So I definitely steered it in that direction. But, you know, it probably had been originally hybridized. Oh, I was going to say, a lot of emails lately I've been getting about choosing males, right? And the great question of how to choose a male. I think a really good thing, a good way to choose the male is if you can find a male from a true inbred line. And that's probably one of the really good, what I've noticed is been one of the real useful things that cherry bomb has been for other breeders, is as it being an inbred line, when it's being used to outcross to something else, it makes the sorting of your traits a lot easier in your future generations, because you're, you know, I'm saying use a male from the inbred line, because basically because you kind of know what he's going to do, you know what kind of, and alternatively you could say from a land race. So taking a male, you know, nice inbred male from a Sativa land race that you know of, and that sounds like, you know, what you were talking about earlier. But anyway, yeah. IBL, use a true IBL. Use a male from a line, from a strain that you know is, you know, that comes from an actual strain that's been inbred for some length of time, and that gives, you know, makes it a lot easier in the future generations after your cross. That's the deal, is because otherwise, if you use a male that's, you know, a recent product of a recent hybrid or something like that, it could be very good. I'm not saying, and you know, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but males like that probably should be progeny tested, because you really don't know exactly how he's going to influence, especially if he's the result of a couple of recent crosses, which so many males are. You know, they could come from a long line of great family. You know, he could have a pedigree. He could have, you know, he could have no hay in his background for 14 generations, and he's still going to kick you some good stuff. But you don't know exactly what his influences are going to be. You don't know. You can't predict those influences as well without progeny testing. So there's where your inbred, there's where your IBL, your inbred line, is a useful, valuable thing, is because you can kind of be sure that that male is going to influence in the way that you intend him to influence. That's probably the number one thing about choosing a male, I would say. Choose him from if he can't be from an inbred line, if he can't be from a land race, then he should probably at least be from a pretty long line of you know, have been from a good pedigree, a lot of good plants in his background. You know what I mean? So if you take something like a low THC hemp strain or something like that, and you've crossed that in recently in your last 2 or 3 generations, then a male from that family might, you know, that's pretty iffy. You're really taking a chance, because, and you definitely ought to progeny test him. You definitely ought to see, you know, what he's going to do, because if it's his, you know, if his grandfather's grandmother is a relatively low THC, then it's not good. You know, maybe it'll be something good for another purposes, but it probably won't be everyone's favorite connoisseur, you know, strain for recreational use. It's not going to be a great recreational plant. It's probably going to be, you know, it'll be unknown. You won't know what you can get. But again, if you progeny test it, maybe it'll be something really great. So, you know, I'm not saying don't bet on it. I'm just saying that plants, you know, a male plant from an inbred line, or, you know, a true strain like that, is going to be a better bet for just making that cross right away. Otherwise, progeny test. Otherwise, find out what the male is going to do, because even female plants don't necessarily breed to what they look like. You know what I mean? This is one of the problems we have with Punnett squares, is because it isn't, we're looking at variably inherited traits with cannabis. Almost everything is inherited in degrees. There is very few traits that, you know, are like sort of on-off switches that can be flipped on and off. Most of them are inherited in a variable way. And the problem with that, in sorting into Punnett squares, the main problem with variably inherited traits is that we might disagree. You know, I might say this one is, for example, a broadleaf, and you might call that one a narrow leaf or something like that. You know what I mean? If it's a variable trait, we have a little bit of trouble kind of saying which box in the Punnett square to sort it into. And a lot of traits in cannabis are variably inherited. Almost every single one of them is variably inherited. So it becomes really complicated. I personally haven't messed around with my Punnett squares in about 35 years. They don't seem to help too much anymore.
I know, but I think for us in the beginning they never helped in the first place. We didn't have the numbers that were capable to do the Punnett squares. So, and all we had was what we had, and we tried to make the best of what we found and what we came up with, and try and put the one plus one together and try and make 3 instead of -1. Yeah.
Yes, as 7 to 10 Canuck points out, he says they're really only good for traits controlled by one or a few genes, which is exactly right. And you know, what I prefer to use like sort of more common terms. You know, I like to say talk about the way the traits sort out in the successive generations, rather than, you know what I mean, rather than use a bunch of big words. I mean, it's not that it's just that they're more communicative and more more easier to think about. Because actually, once it really is about observation of traits. Breeding is really about observation of traits. You know what I mean? And the more traits you can observe, really, in the beginning, we actually the less we see about traits, the more easier it is to sort them. Like, for example, if we just look and we go, oh, well, those really tall plants are sativas and those really short ones are indicas, then it's easy. Oh, well, that's a sativa, that's an indica. But if you look a little bit closer, do you know what I'm saying? Then you see, well, yeah, but that tall sativa's got really short internodes, and that other tall one's got really long internodes, or whatever. So many differences, so many, and the real strength of the breeder is in being able to observe many traits and choose for lots of them at a time. This is one of the reasons why we shouldn't fear GMO, and stuff like that, because those are it's still going back to flipping one switch at a time, which is cool. And sometimes those switches can be really important ones, but compared to the breeder who observes many traits at one time, it can make sweeping changes. You know what I mean? Just by selecting the right plants, you can just it's funny and also not to disagree with the idea of multiple hybridizing vision. I'm not going there at all, but I do have to say that I've done a couple of tricks recently where people think, well, if you combine you make a multiple hybrid, I hybridize this with that and I hybridize again, aren't you just kind of making mud? Aren't you just kind of mashing everything together and kind of reducing all the traits that you want to? Not really. I could raise, it's kind of like you're conducting, what I want from the island sweet skunk is this and that, and what I want from that lemon haze is this and that. You know what I mean? I can bring them up and bring this and choose that and choose this and choose that and put them all together in a three-way combination. But I had to be able to observe and know all those things and see them. You know what I mean?
You have to know what you were starting with in the first place to select.
Exactly.
From that.
Absolutely. And you have to keep it in mind the whole time. You have to really stick to your guns. You can't, you know what I mean? You can't change your mind on the way. You have to have the idea to start with. And you also have to be extremely self-disciplined with. You have to be like an artist and ready to throw your shit in the garbage if it doesn't come out the way you want it to. Like I have this plant, a clone, a Master Kush clone, right? And it's it's an amazing indica plant, and it's but it doesn't breed. I can't get what I want out of it when I breed it. It actually does breed really well. It's an amazing plant when you cross it, but it don't give me what I want. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of pissed off at it. Oh, well, I'm intrigued by it. I've had it around for about 10 years because I feel like if there's some way I can crack this nut, you know. But now some people might say, well, you should breed, and absolutely, and I should give it to other people to breed and everything like that, because they might be able to get, you know, for sure what they like out of it. You know what I mean? It's just not, you know, it's not giving me what I want.
Can I ask you
absolutely.
Can I ask you a question?
Please do.
Do you notice that they skip a generation? So you breed together and you go like, I want this out of this and this out of this, and I expect to see it, but you don't see any of that. But when you get down to the next generation, then you pop it again, and then you see everything, and you just go like, holy shit. So that's where it is. It's all absolutely. I find that a lot of them are hiding away in the background, going like, fuck you, I'm not going to come out.
Yeah. That's a plant that won't give you what you want off of it directly. You have to go to the F2. Yeah. And there's a lot of plants that like that, exactly like that. That's what you're talking about is a very common situation. You know what I mean? It's I call that, you know, you've got to step away from the plant. You've got to move away one generation, you know? Absolutely. I've even seen a trait, well, it was actually a smell, that skipped yet another generation. And it was further down. It wasn't an F2. It showed up in F3 and then skipped F4 and showed up again in F5. So, yeah, you know, shit like that is what keeps you loving it, you know.
So vision creator, what do you look for in ideal males for breeding?
I'm constantly finding like new landrace Africans. That's basically what I'm concentrating on at the moment. Like everything I can get my hands on, and then I grow them out. And most of the time when I'm like growing both sides out just to have a look, see, it's garbage. I can't control the environment to the state that it's on the equator. I can't like make it like it is. And I think like the full Africans, they need sun driven grown stuff. But at the same time, I can duplicate that to a certain degree as much as I possibly can. And then I go down, but I don't just take one male. I'll take every male, mix all the pollen up, and then throw that back onto the plant, and then try and come out with that probably 2 or 3 times to try and see if it's going to exhibit something that I really want to have in there. Some of them are great, some of them are absolutely appalling, and you just throw them away and go, that's garbage. But I'm sure if I went down to F6, 7, or 8, it would probably turn up to be good, but I don't have the time and space for that. But at the same time, you know, but I love to, that's it for me, is just looking and understanding, like, if you really want to be a breeder, you've got to have to understand males more than females. And that's really difficult to teach people, because it's, you know, because you're doing stem rubs. Back in the old days, we used to spray them with ethylene and get a male to revert to a female, the same as feminized, but the other way around, boy goes to girl instead of girl goes to boy. And I attempt to smoke them, but it doesn't give you the same thing. Each male is so subtly different in its own way, and it doesn't want to be fucked around with, excuse my language. And so you basically got to do like a lot of them and then interact them with the thing that you want it to go on and see if they work. But as I said earlier, a lot of boys don't go with a lot of girls. A lot of girls don't go with a lot of boys. And it's a matter of figuring out who goes with who. And essentiality, that's where the true breeding comes in. Anybody who just slams things together and then knocks it out the front door going, this is my seed, and it's like $100 for 10 of them. I just look at them like, sorry, I have a hard time dealing with that, because I'm just pottering around in the land in the background going like, I wonder if this goes with this. Well, then I have to go like 7 years down that path to figure out if that goes with that. And that's the true art of breeding. And Mr. Green Jeans knows that. You know, I totally respect him, because I know when the cherry bomb first came out, it exploded onto the web and everybody thought that was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And you know what? It was the greatest thing since sliced bread at that moment in time. And we all just went, wow, what a fucking taste. What a flavor. What a this. But every breeder does it for their...
Sorry. Yeah, it's so incredible to hear that. I'm just sorry. I tried to bust in. It's just fantastic. Go ahead.
But every breeder breeds for their own thing. You know, I've got my own opinions. You know, is it a certain amount of taste? Like for me, I breed for the third eye high. You know, I've done a lot of psychedelics in my time, and I want my weed to basically open my third eye. I want to be able to put the disco on, get the vacuum cleaner out, and clean my house from top to bottom with a cheesy grin on my face. That, for me, is a sign of a really good sativa, and I'm getting masses of really good thoughts, and that's what I breathe through. And how do you tell people? Like, it may look like a piece of shit. It may look horrible. It probably isn't going to yield very much, but just like grow it and smoke it, and then like tell me afterwards, you know. And that's my judgment character upon people, because a lot of people don't do that. They just looking at it. It looks like bag seed. I go like, yeah, but it doesn't matter, dude. Like just smoke it. You'll be fine. Believe me, you'll be fine. And occasionally things like the Congo come around every once in a while, which just goes like, oh my god, it's a 2-liter pop bottle on the top, and she smacks you on the side of the head and goes, hello, my name's Congo. And then you're off and running to the races. But she's a classic. She's a classic. I haven't found anything yet that makes her better than her in her own right. You know, where 1 + 1 = 3. It's always 1 + 1 = Congo. So it's just like, oh, okay. And I'm not sure, but I'm just slowly plowing through the things. I think, you know, I'd say I think she's a lesbian, but I'd probably get shot down in flames for that. But she hasn't liked any of the 13 males I put up against her so far. She, she is way stronger on like F2, F3, all the way down on any of those crosses. You know, she overtakes it. She storms in like she's like a stormtrooper. It's just like, oh, okay, it's Congo again. It's Congo again. But there are things out there that so I might go against my usual theoretical proposition and going, you don't put an indica male onto a sativa female. I'm going to start putting like indica males onto her and see if she likes that and see what the hell happens that way round. But you know, it's hard sometimes. That's enough. That was a good rant. I got a good rant in.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. That you're finally you said, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna break down and put an indica and see, because all the males have failed. I'm gonna try something different. So that's what a true breeder would be, right? That's another definition of a true breeder. Okay, I've exhausted these 13 genetics that I tried to breed with, and now I'm gonna. And I don't believe in putting the indica, but I'm gonna use an indica now. You know.
Yeah.
And having a landrace indica too, to genetics to boot, if having a true Afghan or something, that's a big help too when you're, when you want to do that.
What do we got? We got a true breeding Lebanese, like full landrace, and we bred it out 3 or 4 times, and it's like sublime. It's got the red dust trichromes, so that's what red Lebanese hash was back in the old days. It was like red Lebanese.
Oh wow!
It's not the strongest, but it's one. I'm hoping it's going to be one of those 1 + 1 = 3s. Where they just make amazing things.
I know the Lebanese too. When you cure it right, you'll get a lot of. It's like really, really high in THC, but it converts to that CBN, and the CBN's red. Gives you that nice, helps with that color as well. Especially if you got nice big gland heads.
Well, that's what they breed for, essentially, isn't it? It's Lebanese hash. It's Becker Valley special. They breed short, dry plants in the summer, and yeah.
So what
Okay. I was going to say about the African strains, the Durban poison. That's the only one I've have any experience with. But that's like further away from the equator than like the Congo, and the strains you're talking about are more equatorial, right? The Durban's pretty almost this whatever the same latitude I think as Houston, as Texas or whatever. It's pretty. right?
And I'm fairly sure that what passes for Durban poison these days on any seed site is not Durban poison.
Oh, I know. I got mine actually from a friend who grew up in Durban. He's a Durban native, a friend of mine who grew up, and he brought me, so I know mine's real Durban poison, but I know there's like, and I haven't tasted any, but I know, and I've seen pictures of stuff that is absolutely obviously not. But I had to cross mine. I only got the single female, and I was extremely lucky. The strain that I had on hand that I crossed it with turned out to be great. But now I only have the one plant. She's an F1, and that's a plant that really taught me, to save that some F1 hybrids are just like, I bred it for a long time. I messed around with it, but I can't make a strain out of it. I don't think it will work. I don't think it can make a strain that will have all of its traits, in other words, and it certainly won't have the heterosis, the F1 vigor. It certainly won't have that. So it's one of the first plants that showed me about true clone only. And it said, "Hey, buddy, you're not going to see me again. Don't even bother to try breed me." I tried, and that's a nut. I know I can never crack that one. So we're going to stay with the clone on that. But but at Durban poison, that's why I was wondering, because I knew that it was definitely a little bit easier to grow than. I don't have any experience with any of the African equatorials, but I have grown one from not Thailand, from Laos, that was really, that was a serious equatorial strain, and those are real bears. It's an incredible wrestling match indoors. I mean, I can't like I guess the thing to do, they're really impossible. Steve has pointed out, you really got to let them grow. You got to let them grow longer. You have to go. They are, in a way, a lot of the equatorial strains are kind of like auto flowers, kind of like long season auto flowers, almost, in the sense that if you try to flower them early, they're probably a lot more prone to hermaphrodite, to intersex, as we say. But yeah, the Durban poison was pretty tame. I was amazed, and also the pure that I only had the one female plant. Kind of sucked, but it was absolutely the most visually most beautiful plant I've ever seen in my life. It was incredibly beautiful. It was like as if it had actually been bred for as an ornamental cannabis strain. It was like, wow, that's beautiful. But yeah, anyway, I was just wondering if you'd had any experience with crossing that, because as I said, it was a lot easier to grow indoors than the ridiculous Laotian equatorial strain. That was like
it's really weird.
Wrestling match, man. You can't.
Yeah. It's
you can't grow those.
I don't know how to explain it. There are some equatorials which literally just pop out the ground and they go into flower. But other ones where we'd have to grow them out for a year and then just carve the whole mother back, and then to go another 6 months, and then she'd come out of that, and then she'd start budding, because you couldn't like make her bud. It's like an inverse of an auto flower. You couldn't make her bud, but if you took her long enough, then she'd flip for you, and then she'd come out. And then you got to see what the real stuff was. So it's very few people get to see those things, because they don't want to spend a year and a half growing out one plant in the corner.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, they're just too hard to. I mean, I just didn't have anywhere near the space. I was like in my closet, it's just like, what? And they grow so, something, it can grow so fast and stuff like that. So I guess I would have had success if I just let it veg and then just chopped it, veg some more, chop it, veg some more, chop it. I guess the next time I get a hold of some equatorial seeds, I'll try that. There's got to be a way to do it.
So I would just train it all around the building, up and down the walls and up and down, and keep training it like an indeterminate tomato vine. and then let it be natural instead of chopping it. I would just keep running it across the walls up and down. All right, Steve wanted to ask or say something. I just had to throw that in.
So what projects are you currently working
on? Trying to get things to go outdoors. I lost the sound.
Oh, no, you're there. We're here.
Okay. What do you mean by getting things going outdoors? Do you mean trying to build systems or just trying to actually have it work?
No, like the people out there who want to grow some really good weed can put it in their backyards, because apparently we're allowed 4 in Canada. Whoop-de-doo. But they're allowed 4, so we'll start with 4 and we'll see where we go from there. Okay. But I want them to be able to have a smorgasbord of nice shit to grow that's not big canna bullshit fucking outdoor weed.
The other thing too with Canada is making sure it's
it's like I've got to.
I'm sorry, am I lagging or something?
No, I think we're all lagging, dude.
Okay. So yeah, I was just gonna add to what you're saying. Also, quick finishers because of the winters.
I know that's the whole point. Like I have to be out of the ground by the end of September. So like, you know, yes, I know some like really nice local auto stuff here that will hopefully not distract too much, because I'm not a fan of auto flowerers. I really am not. They tend to fuck up everything that I've ever tried. But we've got a couple here which I think are indeterminate and fairly good, and will only bring in the early finish without fucking around with what you started with in the first place.
So that's what you're trying to do. Even though you're so limited outdoors, it's really hard to get the breeding program going to produce the genetics that you want to share. I think that's what you were saying, and that's what I was trying to get out of that, I think.
Yeah. Snap.
So what are some of the different land races that you've worked with, and maybe some of your favorite traits from the different ones? I guess general traits from the different types of land race.
Okay. My favorites are Thai plants. Thai plants are the most spiritual plants there are out there. Udon Thai from northeast of Thailand. If back in the day you could actually get a copy of it, the stuff was like exquisite and ecstatic and, you know, just sumptuous. And my first ever breed was that crossed with a Kandahar, and it was just like, you know, I sat on a bench and looked at the North Shore in Vancouver for 6 hours and cried. It was that good. It was just like sublime. Yeah. I did. I cried for about 6 hours. Then I went home, got the disco out, and put the vacuum cleaner on and cleaned the entire house.
And that's the story.
Okay. Yeah. Africans are a lot more physically racy. They got a physical body which pushes you to do something physical, makes you want to work, but they still have a certain amount of third eye high. So you've got like some great attitude towards you and you're thinking about it, but you want to actually go and do shit, work at it. It's like, you know, you're breathing hard, you're going and like trying to control where you are inside the stone. And that's why I sort of love those Africans. At the same time, I love my hashes. So like, to try and get those two together. So like you got a huffy puffy, that beautiful sativa going onto a deep, you know, narcoleptic strain indica. You know, I want you to be basically sensory deprivated, yet tripping balls. That's one of my latest things that I'm going to try and look for.
That'll be
very cool.
Yeah. You asked me what I was doing. Those are basically the two paths I'm going down. I'm trying to do outdoor for everybody, and at the same time, I want to sensory deprivation, trip head weed. So you lie on the couch, but you don't play computer games. You just sit there and trip balls.
So what kind of traits are you looking for to find those? And in your, I guess, aside from just that particular genetics, what other particular traits are you looking for in trichome structure or whatever else?
I don't really. I learned over the years. I don't really care what they look like. It doesn't matter. It's what's inside. It's the old classic adage. It's what's inside that counts. Because it can look like a piece of shit, but once you smoked it, and you just go like, oh my god, that has everything I want and everything I'm going for. So I don't look for trichome structure perfectly. It's a matter of growing them all out, smoking every individual one. And I don't smoke dabs. I only smoke joints, and because when I'm breeding, I've got 100 females there. I'll smoke every one at the same time every day for the next 100 days, and that's how long it takes to breed. And I'll analyze them at the same time. My emotional mood is maybe different, but at least I'll pull that down to about 10 of them, and then I'll go and smoke them again after a full cure, 10 in a row, same time every day, and then I'll think about that, and then I'll condense that down even further. And that's how you figure out where you want to go and who the best ones are if you've got them. And green genes is right. Sometimes you just don't get them. It's not what you wanted out of it. But I do those specially for straight land races. I'm looking through huge land race spectrums and trying to figure out what is it that in this land race that I want. What am I expecting from this? And and I think the expectation is wrong. You should just be open-minded and accept what she gives you, and then she comes and gives you some things that you never even thought were possible, and then you find new shit.
So what are some of the stranger traits that you see in the landrace that maybe you don't see in some of the others? Obviously, you see herming a little bit more commonly with the landrace, but what are some of the other traits that you see more commonly?
But most of them, 90% of them, weight-wise, are utter garbage. They're small, thrifty little buds. We're not duplicating that equatorial sun. We can't give that power on them. And if they were, if the locals were growing them in the field, they wouldn't give a shit. But for us, because we've got indoor rooms and we're pretty good about growing nice stuff, we expect it to look nice. But sometimes the stuff that doesn't look nice is the best stuff. But you have to go through all of it and not just junk stuff because it doesn't look right in your personal correction. It's all about what when you smoke it and the quality of the high. I just breed for the quality of the high. I don't breed for fucking yield, that's for sure. Sometimes I find some nice yielders, but I certainly don't breed for yield.
I've read that many times in my career where somebody has claimed the best weed I've ever smoked was the smallest yielding plant I ever grew. And he said, but then I smoked it, and he said, it only grew this big and only had this little bit of yield, but I took a chance on it, and he said that was the best weed I ever smoked. Now, that doesn't always happen either. I've had some smaller ones that didn't yield that were like shit, like you say. But yeah, I've heard that many times, and to hear you equate that into when that you as a breeder aren't breeding for the most beautiful plant. You're looking for this effect. Even if you're sacrificing yield and the beauty of the big lush plant for a elongated plant with less buds on it, that's what you're still going for because you want that effect you're going to get from inside of that. So it's good to hear that.
I'll give you. I know. I'll give you a good example. A female friend of mine who breeds seeds and tries to sell them as part of the mainstream interwebby thing. She does polyhybrid hell. So I sent her a really good strain, and she actually had the thing to grow it all out and then come back to me the other day once it was dried and 2-week cured, and she said I'm giving up breeding now because this stuff just blew everything I ever did out of the water. And I went, I know. And I said, now here's a list of 30 other different things. Take your pick, and then go and do something decent with something decent. We don't hog it; we give it away for free, and that's most of the time. I'm not an interwebby person. I get on the interweb here. with people, and they put up auctions for seeds or giveaways for seeds or whatever. But everything I've ever done is to like, it's my art form. It's just like, here, have this. It's great, because I'm like a kid in a candy shop, like a 5-year-old holding my hand up going like, try this one, try this one, try this one. We're not charging people fucking money for that shit. We're doing it because we absolutely believe in it 100%, and that's all I care about. Boom Shiva.
Boom Shiva, yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that's what got me the first night when I got invited over onto Good Earth, where I met Vision, and we talked all night. Everybody else left. We talked till 5 in the morning about this stuff, and he's truly a very generous person that you know, and so is everybody in that group. Just to give a big shout out to all you guys out there tonight, and gals. Don't want to forget there's some gals out there that hang out too. You know, but yeah, we're enjoying having you.
Where's Tara when we need her? Come on, it should be dab time by now.
Yeah, I was surprised she's not here tonight.
She'll be in.
Probably wore out from the weekend. She went to the Steve and Josh's class this weekend.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that later on. Steve, you got some more questions?
Hello.
Huh?
I'm open to any question anybody's got. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, is there anything in chat? Because I tried to catch chat, but it didn't open right for me tonight. That's what was echoing when I was opening up the chat where everybody's talking. So
what tips do you have for newer breeders?
Don't believe the hype. It's as simple as that. It's just don't believe the hype. You know, if you're going to get into something, find something you love, and if you love it, then try and buy it in a non-feminized variety, and then go and look inside it. And try and see where it came from, and grow it out 3 or 4 times, then cross it, and then cross it, and see what you've got. And if you really want to become a breeder, that's the only way you can go into things. You know, and I see so many people who just find one thing that's great, they smash it together with another thing which they think is great, and then they pop it out there, and they're going like, "Ooh, lovely! I'm now going to charge you like $100 for this," and I just sit there and go, shake my head in abject, oh my god, no, please not. Sorry, Bum Shiva. That's another rant. I got another rant here.
So what kind of nutrients do you use, and or microbes as well? What is your methodology?
I grow in cocoa, Canna A and B, and CalMag Plus, and that's it. It's a very standard formula. I know exactly how it works. I know that some of you will think I'm a sinner because I don't grow it organically, but I've grown that method for the last 8 years, and I've got it dialed into the T's. Okay, when I go outside, it goes into the ground, and I put tons of shit on it, the same as everybody else does. But indoors, when I'm in the lab, I want it like sort of controlled to a certain degree, and that's my definition of control.
I like that concept. That's the reason I chose hydro when I first started, was because it was sterile. You grew it in a sterile environment. You didn't have to worry about the bugs and the pests. You could just concentrate on growing the weed. And of course, now we're growing up and I'm getting caught. I love the KNF and the regenerative type ideas, and I'm building a hugel bed just to check that out because I'm going to grow vegetables and that, you know. And you know, it's just kind of funny. But I agree with you. That's why I chose hydro to begin with. And even though I did grow soil too, and I love what you said also, that if it's outdoors, I'm going to do it organically and throw shit on it, you know, right? It's like but inside in your lab, you're just doing you got an A and a B, and you got it dialed in. That's pretty interesting. That'll help a lot of people out there that tend to try to do too much, or, you know, that's when I yield to that, is more when it's beginners and such like that only have indoor grows, and they don't have the wherewithal to do the composting, or they're too old, and, you know, they're just now starting at 65, they're starting to grow. But I see Steve smiling. So what's funny, Steve?
Yeah. No, I'm just no, it's good for when you need a controlled situation like that, and predictability for data collection. You know, I totally understand and especially for trying to, you know, feel out those breeds. Makes sense. We had a question in chat. Scott, do you have suggestions for growing older purple Kush? It's not very potent or a big producer, but is a really amazing high.
Yeah, pound the living shit out of it with as much ppm as you can get into it. That's what all the purple and the pink Kushes do, dude. Like we in the warehouses that I run, the pink and purple Kush take 1800 ppms or they don't produce. You know, I'm sorry to say that, but that's the truth. So, boom shiva. I don't even want to say boom shiva to that because that's heinous. Okay.
I found molybdenum, making sure you have extra elevated molybdenum levels in particular, makes a huge difference for the those purple and black and other really colorful strains, because that plays a big role in that anthocyanin production.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can actually, if you run those strains and you give them like some of your lower level normal molybdenum levels, or for the bracket, I don't remember exactly what it is off the top of my head. Normally I can rattle it off. I'm just kind of tired from traveling.
I know it doesn't take very much molybdenum, that's for sure.
Yeah, but you can run it as high as like 0.5 ppm, 0.8 ppm if you're trying to really push the purple in a strain and it's really heavy producer. It's going to suck that down pretty quickly. You see it all the time in aquaponics. Same thing with if you're running if you have your nitrogen levels are too high, or if you're running like a cracky method or aquaponics, you have more nitrates. You're making sure you have that higher molybdenum level is going to help convert those nitrates back to ammonia inside the plant, and really help make that easier on the plant itself.
Cool. Yeah.
So, anybody have any other questions for Vision Creator? What are some of your favorite cultivars that you've grown to date, or what are your maybe top 3 or top 5? Whatever you think is easier to get to.
Okay. Most of them on my own, surprisingly enough. But okay, like I'll give you like a good one. Okay, the Exodus cut of Skunk #1, circa 1988, that came over here and is officially called the cheese. But back in the day, I had a guy in England who knew the Exodus people, and he sent me a cut, and we grew it out here. And it changed the ballpark on the sense of taste. It was so thick, so gorgeous. It was literally like, somebody squeezed half a wheel of Gorgonzola cheese on your tongue. But it was a classic skunk high. You went up mildly for an hour, down mildly for an hour due to the indica, and then you came off of it. But that taste was absolutely like, none of us had ever like tasted something like before, because we had no sense of thickness. And then, of course, the next year, whatever his name was, did blue cheese and won the Cannabis Cup, and then it was all out all over the place after that. But I remember, like, I got 12 cuttings in the mail, unrooted from the UK. It took 12 days in the darkness. I thought they were all going to die, and all 12 of them rooted within 5 days. I just went, okay, apparently you want to be here. And then we just handed them out to everybody, and they got down into California after that. I swear to God, I'm probably the first person who brought the fucking cheese into North America. And that's back in the, Green Jeans will know this. That was back in the forum days when it first came along. And I was lucky to, to have an English friend, because I'm actually English, believe it or not. And I had a friend out there who knew those guys. It was like sublime. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
we were just lucky.
I believe mid 2000s.
Yeah, but we were just lucky, dude. I was just lucky. Sometimes in life with weed, you're lucky, and the plant hunts you down. She'll come and find you. You don't go and look for her. She just comes and finds you. Goes, hello, my name's this. Grow me and smoke me. And you go like, okay. Oh, so glad to meet you. Thank you very much. Beautiful. Boom Shiva.
So we had go ahead.
I was just going to say, Enzo Monk wants to know your favorite sativa for growing indoors. What are the best sativa strains to grow indoors? I think that was what Steve was going to ask.
Do they want them manageable or mind blowing?
I'm sure they're asking about manageable. Yeah, because.
Okay. Okay. Anything from South Africa, any land race from South Africa should be manageable. Okay, but I've seen some Durbans go 21 weeks, but that's not a regular thing. But I've also seen, like, the further you get away from the equator, the better chance you get. You know, I was lucky with the Congo. The Congo is like a 13-weeker, and that's a full-on equatorial strain. But I've also had Nigerians. Well, I love Nigerians. Nigerians just like, it's the how do I describe it? Okay, the meth of the weed world. The stuff is just ferociously strong, but you know, they grow to 24 feet high, and you know, you don't get much yield on them, but they're incredible fucking plants. So how do I tell you? Like, yeah, anything from north or south, you know, more North African, you get into hash plants, even though they're thin leaf. More southern, you'll get into South African. Malawis, yeah, you know, if you want to start with a really good plant that you can actually grow indoors, try and find a really good Malawi Gold, and that's my recommendation. The good Malawi Gold. It's manageable. It'll go 14 weeks. You'll get a good yield, and it'll have a really, really nice sativa high on it. There's the answer.
Sounds good. 14
Excellent.
weeks. Killer for indoors. Yeah.
What about you, Green Beans? What do you think of that question?
No, you know, I mean, I guess my whole collection is pretty sativa dominant, but I mean, only in the hybrid sense, you know, not in the real, not what Vision is talking about as in true landrace sativas, you know. I mean, and I'm sure even the Durban poison that I had was, you know, that stuff is pretty tame. Even the pure Durban poison was quite reasonable indoors. And people call cherry bomb a sativa dominant, or you know, it's pretty much of a sativa, and it's pretty nice indoors. It's pretty, you can grow it pretty well indoors. Only about maybe 10 weeks for most of the plants. I suppose some of them could go longer. You know, how long you flower a plant? I mean, gee whiz, wasn't it Soma that said when she looks perfect, give her another week? You know, I mean, you know what? Check this out. Here's a quote. My friend Elwood, who gave me the seeds from. Oops, I said his name on the. There you are. If you're listening, Elwood, on the podcast, he gave me the seeds for the Durban poison. One day he said, "There's 3 times to harvest." He says, "There's connoisseur time, there's commercial time, and there's the rent is due time."
Yeah,
like, you know, and I think it's true. The connoisseur time is longer, you know. I mean, it's always, you can always, if you're doing well, even if it's a really fast finishing indica that really finishes, bam, you know, shuts down, bam, I'm done. You probably can, if you're really a good grower, you could probably give it another week. You know what I mean?
It just depends on what you're trying to do. That if you're trying to make hash, and then what kind of post product, because you're going to want to, how much oxidation you get on the trichomes is going to really affect the final product that you're going to get.
Probably true. And I'm saying really in terms of keeping if the plant is happy, and that could be a genetic thing too. As like I said, some plants, they just shut down. They're very, very indica dominant. I've done my couple of weeks, I'm finished, bam. You know, but other plants, for example, my white wizard strain, and people say, how long does that go? And I always say, well, it has a wide harvest window, which means
yes.
How do you like that? It has a wide harvest window. That means that it actually, the nugs even solidify, get kind of solid and big and, you know, pretty early. But it also will hang on the plant real nice. So it's like kind of like a fruit tree where the apples stay nice on the tree or whatever, kind of like that. I guess it's a trait of long flower. Plant stays happy longer, and that gives you a lot. That's a nice trait because it gives you a lot longer time to flush out your chlorophyll. Gives you more time to have control over that aspect of it, and you see all the fall foliage colors come out. You know, the green goes out of the plant. You see all the yellows and the oranges and whatever colors are underneath the green, which is really a nice thing. But that's a genetic thing. So, yeah, how long does a plant go? And I think we're dealing with nowadays with so many hybrids. It's really hard to get away from them. And I'm really glad that people like Vision are doing the work of preserving the land races and stuff like that. It's very important to do that work. Very thankful for it. So I'm not one of the guys that thinks that we're in danger of running out of cannabis variation, and I think quite the opposite, because I've seen ridiculous variation spring up in my own garden. You know what I'm saying? And lately, since we've all been sharing, the breeders all been communicating, it's really been exploding. I think it's really great.
Yeah.
And I think the plant has tremendous amounts of variation in it. We got plenty of directions to go and everything. So, I'm not worried about that. But it is very, very important to preserve all the original lines, the old land races. All that is wicked important. And one of the great ways to do that is by saving a clone. Save your clones from, if you've got an old seed and you manage to germinate an old seed, maybe even save the clone, because seeds get unviable even in the freezer eventually, but a clone can really last a long time. The Macintosh apple, I think, is 308 years old or something like that this year. 307 years old now, the original Macintosh clone. So don't that I have a couple of cuts that are coming up on 20 years now. So and I know there's other people too on IC Mag, and I know I've met people online who have old clones, and your old clones are a view back into the past, into the old genetics. You get seeds coming off that plant, just like you've got seeds from 15 years ago. So. Yes. Sorry, that's my rant.
Interesting observations, though. That's
cool.
I like the analogy.
Yay! Get that rant in, dude.
Hell yeah.
We've got the original Texada Time Warp here, and it really is. It's like nobody really knows how old it is, but it's anywhere ranked between 18 and 22 years old, and we get the clone of the clone of the clone of the clone every single year. And she goes down in yield, but she doesn't go down in quality. Like back in the old days, we dig a big 4 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot big pit and put like a nice plant in there, and we get a pound out of it at the end of the season, end of September, end of the first week of October up here in BC. But it would be, you get a great weight, but it was exactly the same. It was Time Warp. But these days, we can do exactly the same thing and only get a quarter pound because she's getting old and tired. Like every living thing, they get old and tired. So that but it's still exactly the same quality of the high. And I still think Time Warp is probably my favorite outdoor weed of all time. And especially here in Canada, it's not often that we've actually get to do outdoor weed here in Canada. But for me, nothing really beats the Time Warp. Yeah, at the same time, she doesn't like breeding with absolutely anybody at all. She just likes to be herself, and you can detract from her, but you can't add to her. Very strange plant, but I love her. Pum Shiva.
I love it.
I'm really jonesing to taste the Time Warp myself right now. I'm asking people on the chat. What about it?
Okay, dude, I'll save you some at the end of the season. I'll send you some. Okay. That's easily done. I got two. I got two this year. I'm just doing two this year, only because she deserves to be grown. And I spend a lot of time with her and do all the correct plucks and prunings, because although she may be 18 to 22 years old, I've probably only known her from age 14 to 16 and then up from that. So, but it's still, you get to spend the same time with that outdoor plant every single year for about 14 years. You get to know what she wants, and that's it. If you want to take her perfectly, it's October the 7th, but sometimes the fog comes in at the end of September and she'll just rot on the stem. and so we have to take her early. But if you get the good season, everybody's happy, and we all get to smoke at Christmas. Perfectly done, October the 7th time warp, and we go like, yeah, this shit's great, and it kicks my fucking ass. Not many things kick my ass, but the time warp still kicks my ass.
Cool.
Boom Shiva.
Love strains like that.
Mhm.
Well, there you go. That's one of your little trademarks, I would say. Why don't you explain to everybody the meaning of Boom Shiva and where you picked that up from?
Because I used to spend a lot of time in India with the sadhus, and the sadhus smoke these things called chillums, which are basically clay pipes with a rag over the mouth they put their mouth into, and then they smoke straight hash. And these guys can smoke hash like you and I, like, are mere children in their presence.
Right.
And they will smoke all day long, and every time they take a smoke, they say Boom Shiva. And the correct religious response is Bombole, which is thank you, God. So, you know, I learned it that way, to sit with the sadhus, learn some stuff from them. Most of them didn't speak English, so I didn't actually learn shit. But you learn things through the interaction of you smoking with them.
Yeah.
And if you can smoke with them, then they respect you. And, you know, they may not speak your language, but the language is the hash that you're smoking. And then we'll just sit there all night and smoke and smoke and smoke and smoke and smoke.
Right.
And you get to one state, which is like, it's a religious experience, because they're sitting there in a loincloth and an orange dot on their forehead, and that's about it. But they're just doing mad chillum hits all day long. And if you can keep up with them, fucking good luck to you, because I always found it really difficult, because I'd have to like basically fall over sideways after a while and go like, oh, that's way too much for me.
Talk about sleeping like a baby, right?
Yeah, I know. Then you end up sleeping like a baby again. But that's the boom. That is the Boom Shiva. And you know, so every time I see all my friends, that's all of you guys. You're all my friends, and I'll put up the pipe in front of you, spark her up, and go Boom Shiva. Here, let's smoke some fucking weed, because when we all smoke weed, we all get together and have an amazing time. And I fucking love that. And if anybody wants to contend against that, I'll take you out the back and kill you now. Boom Shiva.
Bumbleay, right?
You got
Bumbleay, yeah.
Bumbleay.
I got this super sweet chalice when I was up in Washington this trip. Nice stone bowl. Real similar to what you're talking about, except they'll also use the big cones.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's nice, Steve. I like that one now.
Yeah. Especially with the stone bowl. It's nice.
Yeah, that looks nice.
Something to christen the new place in when it's finished. We're about hopefully a little over a month out from getting that place up and running. So
It was like, was that Tara up with you the other day on the educational program for the weekend?
Yeah, so Josh, Dutch Blooms, big shout out to Dutch Blooms for hosting the class.
Yeah.
We had a whole bunch of students up there. We had I think 8 students in the class, and had a really good time. And got to learn all about doing stuff commercially. Got to work with lots of plants. Got to do all different types of things. You know, hands-on with the whole class, doing all different types. You know, different methodologies. We also touched on some soil stuff as well, like hugels and all kinds of other things. So a lot of fun. Mike West was there. That was really fun to hang out with him all weekend, along with some of the other awesome students. We had people from Uruguay, Colombia, Canada, Florida, New York, all over. So it was really awesome. And yeah,
that's dedication. That's dedication, dude. It's total dedication to come all that way to fucking listen to you guys speak. That's dedication.
Oh yeah, the guy said the one guy had been to a whole bunch of other courses and stuff, and was like, "This is insane, you know how much knowledge we've got." So it was really fun, and well, I'm sure we'll do it again here at some point. I know Josh is working on a class with Leighton from Kingdom Aquaponics. I'm sure they'll have information on that here at some point in the future. I'm sure he's just recovering from the weekend like I am. I know I'm pretty tired. my voice is definitely tired. But it was a lot of fun, aside from the insane. Oh yeah, let me go on a rant for a minute. So fuck American Airlines. Just want to say that they are the worst company. They are worse than Spirit or Frontier. I was on hold for 16 hours. That's completely fucking insane. If you pro tip when you get stuck on there, I called them back and got into a different queue and then just said emergency. And somehow I ended up with a manager level person within about 10 minutes after reading that somewhere online. And that worked. So that's what finally ended it. And about a half an hour after that, they finally gave me my call back from around 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock the previous evening at around 11 a.m. the following morning. So, fuck them. They canceled my flight.
Fuck them.
Yeah, dude, they canceled my flight. They wanted me to come back today. Like, the whole 2 other business days wasted. Like, no, dude. Like, and then I ended up buying a ticket myself from a different airline. Anyways, not to rant about stupid shit you guys don't care about, but don't ever use them. They're horrible. Working real hard and working real hard out here in Oklahoma to get the operation running. We just waiting a couple of parts. We had something get delayed in shipping for the light depth, so we're just waiting on that. And then we have all the plumbing should be here by the end of the week. And as soon as the light depth is done, we can move the scissor lifts out of there and cut the plumbing into the floor and go. So it'll be a lot of fun here soon. We'll have lots of cool construction pictures in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and looking forward to getting that up and running. And then we'll start construction on the extraction facility right next door as soon as we finish complete the construction on the grow here. We'll also start getting our outdoor plants out in the next week or 2. We have a ton of them all ready to go in pots. We're just waiting to got a soil test back, and I want to wait 1 more year before we actually put anything in the ground out here. Just because of something someone sprayed last year, I want to make sure it has enough time to fully go away, even though it'll probably be fine. So we're going to put down some weed cloth and put some nice bags of organic soil on top of that. Nice giant 50 or 75 gallon pots and grow with those outdoors just for the season. And then we'll work on healing the soil for next year and get that all prepped. So
the water has subsided to where you can now start working outdoors?
Oh yeah. But it worked out nice because while I was away, kind of gave time for everything to kind of dry out and get to where we can get vehicles back there, because we have a road there, but it's getting a little bit tore up everything just got so wet for so long. There was no water, and there's the ground table or the bedrock here is only maybe 6 feet down. So when you have that much water, it just pools underground. So we just needed a time for everything to dry out. So now that we're fully good, we're getting the fencing finished and some of the other stuff that needed to happen. So everything's coming along great. We'll be operational here soon. We're going to start working with Langston University, which is really cool, with one of their fish proposals. Well, we'll find out if it goes through, but I signed up with them last week, so that was really awesome. Shout out to those guys. Look forward to doing lots of great things with you guys in the future. And I guess that's all going on with me. Just tomorrow going and spending all day trimming, topping, taking more clones, repotting, all that stuff, prepping everything for the stuff when we're ready to move up to the main property, which is going to be next month. So just trying to make sure we have as many plants as humanly possible for the stuff that we want to immediately put into production, and make sure that nursery's got lots of plants. And then we're also going to grow a ton of stuff side by side outdoors in the soil and in the aquaponics, so that we can get genetics data and the cannabinoid data. It's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know if we're going to do genetic comparison. We're not going to. We'll see about that. I actually need to talk to a bunch of people before. Yeah, I'll have some stuff that we're going to be talking about, but I'm not ready to go.
More later on that topic.
Yes, but the cannabinoid profiles we'll be sharing publicly and all that stuff.
Cool. And you've been sharing your construction stuff. You brought it up. You've been sharing that on Instagram on Ponics on Instagram.
Yep.
Is where you can follow the construction of the farm out
Yeah.
there. I don't think Vision knows the farm that you're building at this point.
So we're trying to find a partner. We're hoping that they're starting up a genetics program at one of the local universities too. So we're hoping that we can do that. So we don't work with a company and chance risking anything. So we're hoping that we can find someone we can work with to do comparison and say, okay, what genes are being turned on, in the aquaponics versus the soil? How can we use that to benefit, production of certain cannabinoids or whatever? That's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, so that's what we're working on, just making sure we have all those plants prepped and that we have enough to go. And we have a small flowering room, got some stuff going over there. We have the little tiny mini greenhouse in the back that's going to be ready to come down soon, so we'll have some plants to show you guys. Trying to think what else we got going on. Just busy as fuck, just running around. Gotta have some cool video with a special guest tomorrow I'll be running around with in the evening. I'm sure we'll do a short high video, not very long, but one of the homies will be coming through, so that'll be fun. Somebody you guys know. And we'll see what else is going on. That's about it for me, I think.
So has anybody got any more questions for our guest Vision creator tonight in chat or anything like that?
Well, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Vision, for taking the time to come on. How do people find you if they want to learn more about what you do or follow your practice?
Who's got the grandkids?
Sorry about that. I had Mr. Green Jeans accidentally unmuted himself. How do people find you there, Vision creator?
They don't.
Okay.
I don't like that. It's not. I just don't need it, dude. It's like.
Oh no,
I'm
post.
I bimble around in the back ends of the web and hang out with friends and family, and that's what you guys are now. You're all friends and family now. So, like, if anybody wants, they can hit me on IG, Vision Creator 420, but I'll never answer your mail.
Oh no, that's fine. I didn't mean like your physical address. I just meant like Instagram or email or whatever it is that you wanted.
Yeah,
to share.
but I try not to do that. I try not to do that either because like I'm too busy the rest of the time with all my other shit. So it's okay.
Cool. Well, thank you for taking the time to come on and tell us all about the stuff you do, especially on short notice. I really appreciate it.
Come on, dude. Like,
Yeah,
we're gonna go out there and grow some spectacular weed. We're gonna fuck some people up with the most amazing weed known to mankind, and I'll be able to walk into you when I meet you in your physical person and go, now smoke my weed, and you'll have a happy time. And I know that, and that's all I require in life. It's very simple. It's a simple project, and that's the same thing goes for Roger. Same thing goes for Mr. Green Jeans. Respect Mr. Green Jeans, but that's all we do.
Much.
Yeah. We just go out there and do our magic thing and go like, well, smoke my weed. That's the only proof I've got in life is my weed, and what I breathe and what I do. And it's and I give it away to free to everybody because I'm like a 5-year-old kid in a candy shop going, smoke this, smoke this, smoke this, smoke this. Boom Shiva. Anyway, thanks for the invite. Thanks for the attendance. And I'm here all month. I'm here all month. Okay.
And you're welcome to hang out to the end of the show. Nobody's running you off, but we just like to do the formal thing, and get it all. So make sure that you don't forget and forgotten or whatever.
No, we all share. We just get to meet nice new people and have a great time, and that's what I really enjoy in life. Thank you very much.
Well, I was really happy.
It's nice to meet you. I know, but it's nice to meet Josh because like Tara speaks highly of you, so it's just like, oh, okay.
Well, it's really great to meet you, Vision. Thanks so much. Really
good,
incredible.
Yeah, that worked out perfect. Mr. Green was absent a couple of weeks, and then he got back tonight. And and you guys got to really open it up about genetics and breeding, and that's exactly what, you know, we couldn't ask for anything better than what happened, you know, with the information.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, both of you, great job.
So,
let's just keep them all interested, okay? And that's all we have to do is keep them interested with something real and a decent thing, you know, that's over and above everybody else's. And all of us in this place today are capable of all of that. Mr. Green Genes has made one of the finest strains on the face of the planet. Fucking good thing. Our kind host here does the greatest aquaponics and probably makes our shit taste the best shit on the face of the fucking planet. And then we have Roger. But love Roger because Roger's just Roger. Boom Shiva.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's up with you, Mr. Green Jeans? Your garden.
Really not much to report. Just waiting for the next batch, you know, for the next seeds to come in. It's all
next seeds to come in. Let's do some more shit.
Like, yeah, what are those going to be? What are those going to be like? You know, it's so exciting to see the next generation. It's the fun. Yeah. And, you know, I'm totally not about the kids don't try this at home, you know, breeding. I think everyone should get into it. What Vision was saying earlier about group breeding projects. I don't remember whether this was before we went on.
Yeah.
Or we were talking about it while we're on the air.
Yeah.
That is really a fantastic. And as a matter of fact, this was thought of by, well, I don't know who thought it, you know, but when I first heard of it was Rodale, was with the Rodale magazine. My grandmother, you know, I grew up, my grandmother was an organic gardener and everything, and we subscribed to the publications. And there was a project to breed white-seeded amaranth that was a group thing by all the people that, you know, subscribed to Organic Gardening magazine. It's a Rodale deal, and they, you know, sent out thousands of seeds to everybody all across the country, and everyone looked for amaranth plants with white seeds. My grandmother participated. We did that when I was a kid, and so yeah, that's so cool. Everyone get into breeding your cannabis. If you're just thinking about it, do it. If you're outdoors and you're going to be selecting for you definitely should get into breeding. You should select a strain for your area. You know, if you want to plan to be competitive in the future connoisseur, you know, cannabis market when prices go down and everyone grows a plant in their backyard, but still, you know, very fine cannabis is going to be, you know, it's going to be worth money. People will be able to market it for sure, and it'll be outdoors, really well grown, and, you know, probably bred in, you know, in the location as well. And so everybody get into it. If you're thinking about starting to breed, do it.
Yeah, do it.
Sorry, that's my rant. Yeah, put the seed in the ground.
Yay!
Yeah.
Put the seed in the fucking ground.
And don't be scared of males either. You know, don't be scared. You can put them in the ground and dig them up. Okay, you can unplant. If you start, you know, say you start 15 or 20 seedlings this year, and you stick them all in the ground, and oh my God, half of them are males. It's okay. If you start trimming them back as soon as you recognize that they're males, get them ready. You can transplant them. You can dig them up. You can easily keep them alive. You can move them inside, or you can just choose one, your favorite one, you know, there. And well, I wouldn't recommend letting the pollen just blow. that you know, because you'll just have too many seeds. But don't be scared of it. Okay, that's my rant.
Woo! Anything else, Roger, that you got going on?
All I got going on is I invested in a small greenhouse so I could take care of all my produce that I've been growing, because we've been swamped out here for a week and a half or two, and you know, just getting everything repotted into where it was starting to, you know, get nutrition. I used some more. I had an organic fertilizer that I went with some of my own amendments, and I'm using some KNF inputs and stuff. But it's just been raining, and I can't, I can't even allow the pots to anything to dry out. So I bought a little greenhouse and I set it up last night and put them all in there. And they looked, believe it or not, it's just funny. One day of not being rained on, and they looked happier today. Plus it's probably was a little hotter in there because it turned it into a bit of a hot house. But I got one cool with it's got actually 6 screened windows in it. So we got a real good. We live in a 14-mile-an-hour average wind speed here, so we're in a high wind area, so to speak. So we get it's got a nice breeze on it. I got lucky finding it. It didn't cost me a ton of money. It's decent quality, and with my background in greenhouse management and building, I'm gonna reinforce it. Let's just say, So I bought a frame with a cover on it. Then I've already got shade cloth, so I'm going to be throwing up some shade cloth. Well, whenever it stops raining, I guess, tomorrow I'm going to go out there. I think I'm going to build a deck under it. I think I'm actually going to build a deck and then screw it down to the deck, make just like a 2x4 height, like ground deck, kind of thing, and make it so. And then I know I'm going to put an ebb and flow in there, and I'm debating whether I'm going to be able to do a small aquaponics grow on one side of it. That's what I'd really like to do, but I'm real happy to say that my passion fruit vine is going nuts all of a sudden, and I got a flower on my Meyer lemon tree, but I know that's not going to amount to much. My horsetail is doing really great, and my dwarf banana trees. This is pretty cool. Even though they're only small, I got ones in 2-gallon pots, so you can imagine the size they were. Probably about 1 foot to 1.5 foot tall. And I noticed the other day they're shooting up more since I gave them fertilizer and repotted them, and they already grew pups. If you know anything about bananas grow pups like out of the roots. And you let them mature to the point, and you carefully cut them to where they still have roots on them, and you can replant that and have another banana tree. So it's kind of like a banana clone. Because another thing, I didn't know this when I bought it, but I didn't realize that a banana tree grows 1 year and it's done. So you get your big bunch of bananas 1 year, then you cut it down and grow the pups that come out from the ground around it. So I'm real happy to say I couldn't believe I went out there the other day after, I went and did my college YouTube, to learn about all the stuff that I bought that I hadn't researched how to do everything, because I know it was simple as that. Basically, you've got many, many great growers on YouTube. Some people are full of crap, but that's typically true in all of aspects of life. But there's some really good, dedicated people out there that give you straight up real information about, because you can watch, you tend to find out who knows what they're talking about and who doesn't. So
you can grow. Bananas aren't annuals. You can grow them multiple times. You can keep growing them after harvest. We did in Jamaica.
Well, I think you keep growing, but they supposedly won't yield again.
No, you can get them to yield again. You just have to give them the good microbes in the roots. They love labs. They will literally throw a leaf like every 1 to 2 days if you give them really good labs.
Yeah.
And you feed them well with good organic soil, man. They will grow faster than your wheat plants almost.
And they'll put out another flower, huh? Another bud.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not in artificial settings like in potted to do that, but they were, again, you got to give them a little extra potassium. You got to hit them hard with those microbes, and they go crazy. Like my buddy had one where I was just living in Colorado, and it was not doing super hot. We got it from the store because it was, it was cheap, because it was, not super great. And man, we hit that thing with a nice set of labs and some IMO, and man, that thing just was literally throwing a leaf like every day and a half. Like it went from having 2 leaves to having just this massive stack of leaves like this high, on a plant that was only maybe this high, basically don't look like Marge Simpson, because it was growing so fast. It looked goofy. You know what I mean?
I have to research into that. I guess that
wasn't even under ideal lighting. Like I think if this thing was actually in the sun, it would have grown even better. But it was just living off the lights of the reef tanks and stuff.
Huh.
So.
Well, I've cut down trees here. I don't doubt you, because I've cut down a freaking maple tree out here and had it grow back just out of the stump, sprouted a freaking limb and grew back. And I had to cut it down again. Then when I cut it down to the ground again, it sprouted from all the freaking roots, came out of the ground and grew trees. I mean, it's like you couldn't kill the son of it.
Most of your redwoods these days are actually the suckers from the ones that they cut down back in the day.
Way back in the day.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll wrap the show up. I appreciate everyone for watching. Why don't you tell everybody how to find you there, Mr. Green Jeans?
At greenjeansgarden.com. So far, they just got to email me. Oh no, I guess we do have an Instagram, huh?
Yep. Mr. Green Jeans.
Mr. Green Jeans Garden, I think.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I'm sorry, everybody. I'm so untechnical. I can't make it appear in the.
I found it. So I found it. Everybody else can find it. So.
What about you, Roger?
You can find me at ilovegrowingmarijuana.com. You can also find me if you want to contact me. That's the best way to get a hold of me is through Facebook, Roger Latewood Facebook, and I do have an Instagram account. But I have had a lot of problems in the past. But I worked it out with a friend a couple of weeks ago, and I figured out how to post things. Now I just have to, I just have to get content as everybody else is. I'm extremely busy trying to rebuild my farm and actually convert it from a hydroponic farm into a natural farm with aquaponics. And yeah, so I'm building a hugel bed though. That's what I'm excited about. I've been researching that. It just looks such a cool, and I've got tons of wood and logs and debris laying back. I walked in the back and found out I didn't know that I had 4 pine trees that were toppled in last year's hurricane. I didn't even notice it until I went out back because I've been so busy up front. So we're gonna have fun, and that's where you find me. And how about, well, in Vision, you can't find Vision unless he walks in and hands you some weed. So that's the Or you can contact him on Instagram, and he was not going to pay any attention.
And I'm not going to pay any attention to you here. Sorry about that. It's just the way, my life is busy enough without having to deal with the interaction of social media.
That's cool. That's why I was happy, and people reached out. I'm very glad that I did, again, a shout out to Justin for creating the Good Earth group with a bunch of great, knowledgeable people. It's a blast, and it's no tunnel vision there either. There's information, but everybody does it their own way. It's really kind of a relaxed, as opposed to teaching or being on the show. But I didn't want to do anything but this show. I can understand how you don't really want to be involved with stuff where you have to be responsible for it all the time, because you do what you do and you're real busy doing it. And we all respect the hell out of that. There's nothing wrong with that, man. Boom Shiva.
Boom Shiva. So come on, everybody. The whole point is, we all love our plant and what we do. Everybody has their own perspective on it. And as long as we actually talk to each other and have a really great time, and I go, I do this thing, you do this thing, and we don't hate on each other, and we just exchange things, we will do extremely well in life. And that's all I've got to offer you. And it is very simple, because that's what I do with all my friends and all my strains. I give them away and say, do something different with this. I want to see your take on it. I want to see you do something nice with it. Go and change it with, cross it with your stuff. Because the more we hog it, the more we'll become like big canna, and I fucking hate big canna. So I'll leave on a pirate cruise ship methodology, which is just basically fuck big canna, because they're coming to fuck us up, even worse than it was when we were prohibited in the first place. And I, in the background, will be sneakily trying to subvert you all to smoke some good weed.
With their new strains.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm just gonna hand new strains out for free and just go fuck this shit. Fuck this. Here, smoke this, do this, do this, do this. If you don't like it, tough shit. Here, try the next one. Try the next one.
There's so many people.
It's gotta be better. Yeah, it's got to be better. It's got to be better than corporate weed. What we have has to be better than corporate weed, because we love it, and that's the one thing they don't have, is they do not have the love of the plant that we have. Boom Shiva. Okay, that's enough. I'm out now. Ciao. I love you guys. Ciao.
Good night, brother.
And you guys can find me at Ponics on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all the places. Yeah, we'll have Chris Trump on Thursday. He'll be with us. It's not going to be a long episode. I think he's got about an hour and 15 minutes. But he will be with us talking about Chris Trumpy stuff. If you're into Korean natural farming and you got questions, it's definitely going to be a good episode. And
yeah, Chris is cool as shit.
Yeah, as far as KNF experts go, he's pretty much the best. He is the best, at least the ones that speak English. Master Chow, I guess, would disagree with that statement, but he doesn't speak English quite as well as Chris, so he's easier to follow.
I saw a video where Master Cho said he's the shit. He right on the video. He said
Chris is awesome. Love Chris.
Awesome. Yep.
And we're gonna have him on. So he's gonna be talking about his class coming up, and then some of the other cool stuff that he's been up to lately, because he's been up to a lot of cool stuff this year. And then working on some cool people. We have what's his name? The gentleman from NPK Universities will be joining us some point in the near future, and we have some other cool people that are going to be coming on the show. I've been working on some other great guests to keep the ball rolling for this year. Actually, on that note, right before we go, we're on track to double our listeners, over double our viewers from last year. So it's really cool. Right now, we almost have as many viewers now as of this week as we did for all of last year. So that's
so cool.
We've really grown a lot in the last year. So thanks to all of you, to everyone's support, and thanks to everyone who keeps on listening. I apologize for last week when we kind of had a week off, but between the airport insanity and everything else that was going on, I ended up just kind of getting put, couldn't make it happen. But we'll be back to normal from now on. Yeah, so thanks a lot, and thanks again to Josh over at Dutch Blooms for the amazing class over the weekend. And we'll catch you guys again next week, or actually on Thursday in 2 days. Cheers.